Hello and welcome to this tutorial for Public Administration 6123 Economic Development. This tutorial involves Assignment 5, where we will be calculating economic multipliers and the impact with respect to jobs of base sectors of employment in the local economy. We will be using in this tutorial, first we'll be showing you how to calculate the base number of jobs within a given economic sector at the local level, then show the non-base calculation, then how you determine the overall economic multiplier with respect to the total base jobs and how those base jobs affect the overall economy, then look at total economic impact, particularly using that with respect to adjusting for job loss or job growth, and then finish up on how the economic multiplier may be revised as a result of growth or loss. When we use these multipliers, we are going to use them in this example with respect to jobs, but we can use them for other measures such as income, earnings, and population. Worksheet, you see that this is for Catawba County using employment information from our Bureau of Economic Analysis table for 2015, looking at the number of jobs in Catawba County and looking at various sectors. And you can see we have the sectoral share for Catawba County as well as the U.S. sectoral share available in order to calculate the appropriate location quotient to use for this kind of base job analysis. When you're doing base analysis, you want to compare your county to the national sectoral share, so that's the location quotient that you want to calculate. As you can see, using some conditional formatting in Excel, I've identified 5 sectors of the economy that have an impact of being a base job because their location quotients are greater than 1. The most significant of which is manufacturing, and that is the one that we are going to look at the most in this example. The first calculation we want to focus on is the base job calculation, and that's a look at how many jobs of those that are counted as manufacturing jobs are base manufacturing jobs. That would require the calculation that you see up here in the upper right of the spreadsheet. You can see that equation is in parentheses 1 minus, again in parentheses 1, divided by the class location quotient or the sector location quotient. You take that calculation, that total calculation, then you multiply it by that total number of jobs in a given class or sector. So for the sake of this calculation, we are going to do equal parentheses 1 minus parentheses, and then we're going to select cell, we're going to select 1 divided by column N14, then we close those parentheses, and then we multiply that by cell E14, hit enter, and if we looked at our number, we would find that the number is 15,827. So that tells us that there are 15,827 base jobs tied to manufacturing. So the non-base calculation would then be the total jobs in that given sector minus the base jobs. And I have that on the next sheet. But let's go ahead and show that I've now done this for all the various sectors that I've shown. And you can see those there. And I have summarized, I have added up the jobs from these 5 sectors together. And if we go now to sheet 2, you will see that I have added those together and it gives you a total of 20,411. We talked about that the total number of local jobs was 107,346. We take the total jobs and we divide it into those basic jobs to get our economic base multiplier, which turns out to be 5.26. Going back to the impact of manufacturing, we go back to those total manufacturing jobs of 23,216. We showed you what the base number was. The base number we got was 15,827. The non-base, which would be the difference between total and base, ends up being 7,389. So from the standpoint of what the total economic impact for the sector is, we then can use the calculation you see here, which equals the non-base, or the 7,389, plus the sector base of 15,827 multiplied back into this multiplier of 5.26. That's going to be a pretty significant number, just to give you an idea of how strong manufacturing is in Catawba. Again, that's Hickory, that's furniture, that's Corning, that's a couple of other major manufacturers in Catawba County. It's a historically strong manufacturing sector, and you can see there 90,629 jobs in Catawba County. that's about like almost 90%, not exactly 90%, but close to 90% of the jobs in Catawba County that are either directly or indirectly related to the impact of the manufacturing sector. That just gives you an idea, or the other basic jobs in that local economy. It's a pretty substantial supply of jobs that are made possible through manufacturing. Let's now look at what would happen with a manufacturing job loss. Let's say we were to lose 1,000 of those manufacturing jobs. Well, going back to calculating what the base was, based on the base calculation, that would result in a loss of 682 jobs. You can see the calculation up here. Then that means that there's a non-base loss of 318, and again, it's really the difference in how this base loss is, how that multiplier applies to that base loss, that multiplier of 5.26 going against that 382, that really shows the impact of that loss on the overall economy. Theoretically, the impact of a loss of 1,000 manufacturing jobs would result in total job loss of about 3,900 jobs for Catawba County. That is, of course, based on this calculation. Now, this calculation is an assumption. It is not exact. There is no guarantee that 1,000 manufacturing jobs are going to result in a total loss of nearly 4,000 jobs for Catawba County, but over time we have seen that these numbers are close. It's not exact again, but it's close. You think about what massive loss of manufacturing has done in certain areas, and you can see the considerable effect that it has on over economic impact. The same would be true for an economic gain, because let's say we were to add 1,000 manufacturing jobs. You would see the reverse effect, possibly growing a total of 3,900 jobs. This is important information for economic developers to share when they are talking about the importance of economic growth, particularly when they are talking about investment, incentives, and other things that policymakers have to do at the local, state, and national, or even international levels in order to foster economic development. The idea being is that you may need to do something to bring a couple of hundred or 1,000 or several thousand jobs for a particular employer or a particular group of employers, and may have to do more to bring those jobs, with the idea being is if that is a sector where that can serve as the base of your economy, it can create those exports that allow you to trade in a broader realm of commerce nationally, globally. That allows you to grow jobs beyond that would not necessarily require subsidy or incentive or any other type of assistance. Those are the jobs that you gain in addition to the base jobs that you are trying to create. Just to wrap up, we talked about recalculating the multiplier when you have a shift in jobs. Like say we were to lose these 1,000 manufacturing jobs. Obviously, that's going to overall change the nature of the job market. That proportion does not stay consistent over time. So like for example, when I talked about looking at how it may change over a 5-year period and see how those numbers might change, or a 10-year period from 2005 to 2015. In this case, let's say we dropped 1,000 jobs, and you can see that it's resulted in changes to our net base jobs and our net total jobs, and that results in a change to the multiplier when we divide the net total divided by the net base, or the revise, and you can see that it actually goes down a little bit, goes down to 5.24, and you can see that number goes down very small increments. It was 5.25 before, so it's not like it goes down significantly, which indicates that overall that sector remains a very strong influence. Even though you've seen a significant loss of jobs, it continues to be strong for an extended period of time. It's not going to change rapidly and show massive change unless you see that in a given location. It's possible in a given location if you see a significant change from one sector to another in terms of employment, but for most sectors that does not occur. So these are the steps for which to calculate the multipliers and impact of those multipliers with respect to overall economic base analysis and assignment 5.